For years, you have walked quietly through the corridors of obscurity. You've served, you've prayed, you've waited, while others raced ahead, celebrated, and occupied the stage you dreamed of standing on. You've watched as those who mocked your silence were handed opportunities that should have been yours. You've smiled through the ache, convinced that perhaps you were meant to be background noise in other people's songs. But what if I told you this? Your background season was never a punishment. It was preparation. You were not hidden because you were forgotten. You were hidden because you were being shaped. God has been watching from the shadows, not as a distant observer, but as an artist, carefully chiseling away everything that would have weakened your foundation once the spotlight arrived. Every unnoticed act of integrity was a seed. Every private tear was water. Every rejection was a form of pruning. The silence you mistook for neglect was actually sacred instruction. God's greatest works are not performed in public. They are whispered in secret chambers, in the quiet corners of the soul where no applause can reach. When you felt buried, you were not buried. You were planted. The darkness you endured was not a grave, it was the soil of divine transformation. And now that hidden seed is ready to break through. God is about to pull you out of the background, is about to reveal why you had to be invisible for a while, why doors didn't open when you knocked, why you were passed over, why you had to watch others thrive while you remained unseen. The time of obscurity was divine strategy. For if you had risen too early, you would have carried the wrong mindset, attracted the wrong crowd, or leaned on the wrong strength. Those who are prematurely exalted often crumble under the weight of what they never learned in the hidden season. But those who waited, those who trusted, those who remained faithful even when no one was watching, these are the ones God raises with permanence. When God pulls you out of the background, He doesn't just elevate your position, He magnifies your purpose. Your story becomes a testimony that silence was never the end. It was the pause before divine music. And perhaps right now you're still there, still in the background, still unseen, still feeling like heaven's promises are taking too long. But hear this, the longer the preparation, the greater the revelation. The deeper the roots, the stronger the rise. Your name has been whispered in rooms you haven't entered yet. People are discussing opportunities that bear your future signature. Heaven is aligning divine appointments that will appear to the world as sudden miracles, but to you will feel like quiet confirmations of promises once made in solitude. This is your set time. Not a random moment, not a coincidence, but a divinely scheduled unveiling. God is about to do what your effort couldn't, what your connections couldn't, what your tears couldn't. He is about to pull you out of the background and place you where your light can no longer be ignored. Do not be surprised if those who overlooked you are now forced to watch your elevation, not because God wants to humiliate them, but because He wants to demonstrate that no one can cancel what He has ordained. Those who laughed at your stillness will one day say, "I always knew they had something special." Your background season was your building ground. Your isolation was your incubation. And now you are standing at the threshold of divine transition. When God promotes, He doesn't just move you forward, He multiplies your influence. He opens doors that were locked with keys only He could hold. He positions you in places that your resume cannot explain. He gives you favor that defies explanation and blessings that exceed understanding. But remember this, when the breakthrough comes, do not let the noise drown the voice that once sustained you in silence. Do not forget the lessons learned in obscurity, for they will be your compass when the light becomes blinding. You were never meant to remain behind the curtain forever. The God who called you in secret is about to announce you in public. You were hidden for a purpose, and now that purpose is calling your name. This is your divine unveiling. The shift will be sudden, but your soul will recognize it, because it will feel like destiny catching up to your obedience. So, lift your head, breathe deeply. The same God who watched you weep in the dark is now preparing to crown you in the light. He's about to pull you out of the background, not to display your strength, but to display His glory through you. You will not have to chase this moment, it will find you. You will not have to prove your worth, it will be revealed through your story. Every silent season, every hidden tear, every humble yes you gave when no one noticed, it all mattered. Heaven counted every act, recorded every pain, and stored every prayer. Now comes the unveiling. Now comes the chapter you prayed for but could not imagine. Now comes the breakthrough where your hidden faith becomes visible favor. You will not remain in the background anymore. God is pulling you into the forefront of His divine plan, where what was once unseen will now be undeniable. And when it happens, it will not just be your victory, it will be proof that God's timing was never late, only perfect. There are moments in life when the silence feels deafening, when your prayers seem to echo back to you, unanswered and unacknowledged. You look around and watch others rising, celebrated and chosen, while you remain in the background, unseen and overlooked. It begins to whisper questions in your soul. Did I miss my chance? Did God forget me? But the truth, my friend, is far more profound. Hidden seasons are never a punishment. They are the divine workshops where destiny is refined and character is forged. God does not waste delay. He uses it as His most sacred classroom. You see, public victories are birthed in private battles. The world applauds the crown, but rarely sees the cross that carried it. The background is not the place of exile, it's the place of endurance. It's where God strips away the noise of validation, the addiction to visibility, and the hunger for approval, leaving behind only what is pure, unshakable, and real. When God hides you, He is not ignoring you, He is protecting the promise within you from premature exposure. Imagine the seed planted in the ground. To the untrained eye it seems lost, buried, forgotten, and left to decay in the darkness. But the truth is that the darkness is not its death, it's its destiny. In that unseen soil, the seed undergoes transformation. The outer shell breaks, the inner life awakens, and roots begin to stretch downward before any stem reaches upward. So it is with you. God allows seasons of obscurity not because He has abandoned you, but because He is ensuring your roots are deep enough to sustain the fruit that's coming. If you rise too soon, your foundation cracks under the weight of your calling. But when you are seasoned by silence, when you've learned to trust Him without applause and obey Him without reward, you become unshakable. The people who reach great heights without deep roots fall as quickly as they rise. But those who were hidden, those who endured the quiet years, those who kept walking even when no one clapped, those are the ones who last. The background is God's proving ground. It's where He teaches you to rely not on open doors, but on His unseen hand. It's where faith becomes real, where the noise of ambition fades and the voice of God grows louder than the crowd. In that silence, He trains you to hear His whisper. He teaches you to move at His rhythm, not the world's. He purifies your motives so that when the breakthrough comes, you no longer chase validation, you carry purpose. Consider Moses, hidden in the desert for 40 years before he led a nation. Or David, tending sheep in the wilderness while anointed to be king. Or Joseph, imprisoned in the shadows before ruling in the palace. Each one was prepared in silence. before being revealed in purpose. God's patterns never change. He still hides his chosen ones until they are ready to carry what others could not. So if you feel hidden, it's not because you're unworthy. It's because you're chosen. You are in a sacred process. Every not yet from heaven is a form of protection. Every door that closed was shielding you from rooms not meant for your growth. Every delay was heaven saying, I'm still working on you. And when the time comes, your unveiling will be effortless, because what's ordained cannot be overlooked forever. Hidden seasons are where the strongest faith is born. The applause may be missing, but so is the pressure to perform. In that stillness, your soul learns to breathe again, to find joy not in being seen, but in being known by God. It's where he replaces striving with surrender, comparison with contentment, fear with faith. So do not despise your background season. It is not your end, it's your education. God is not late, he's deliberate. Every silent day, every unseen tear, every unanswered prayer is a thread in the fabric of your preparation. And when he finally pulls you out of the background, you will realize that nothing was wasted, not the waiting, not the weeping, not the wondering. You will see that the background was not where you lost time, it was where you gained strength. It was where your faith learned to walk without sight, and your purpose learned to breathe without applause. God hides those he plans to honor. So stay steady, stay faithful, and stay quiet if you must, because soon the same God who trained you in silence will trust you with visibility. Your hidden season was never punishment, it was the preparation of a masterpiece. There comes a point in every soul's journey when life grows dark, when the things you hoped for fade into silence, when prayers seem unanswered, and the ground beneath you feels like a grave instead of a garden. You look around and all you can see is darkness, isolation, and the weight of disappointment. It feels as though life has covered you, sealed you beneath layers of struggle, loneliness, and delay. But what if that darkness isn't your ending? What if it's the very beginning of your transformation? You were not buried to die, you were planted to grow. When something is buried, its story is over. But when something is planted, its story has only just begun. The difference lies in the purpose of the one who placed it there. Burial is final. Planting is hopeful. Burial hides the dead, but planting hides the living, so that it may rise again stronger, deeper, and fuller. And that, my friend, is what God has been doing with you. The dark seasons you've endured were not punishments, they were preparation chambers. God placed you in the soil not to suffocate your potential, but to awaken it. The soil of pain, loss, and disappointment may feel heavy, but it carries nutrients unseen by the naked eye. Every tear that fell into that soil watered the seed of destiny. Every heartbreak softened your spirit to receive divine instruction. Every delay pressed you deeper into dependence on him. We often mistake the silence of God for his absence, but the truth is, growth is happening in silence. A seed makes no sound as it breaks open. The miracle of transformation is quiet. Beneath the soil, roots are stretching downward before life ever reaches upward. God is anchoring you first before he exposes you to the light. For if your roots are shallow, the first storm will uproot your destiny. But if your roots are deep, deep in faith, deep in patience, deep in surrender, no force on earth can destroy what God has planted. When you are planted, people may think you've disappeared. They might say, "What happened to them? They used to have dreams. They used to talk about big things." They don't realize that the silence you're living through is sacred. You are not gone. You are growing. You are becoming what God designed long before anyone knew your name. The soil is your sanctuary, the darkness your divine cocoon. Think of Joseph, cast into a pit by his brothers and forgotten in a prison by men he helped. To those around him, his life looked buried, yet in truth he was planted, hidden in the soil of God's strategy, being positioned for a season of greatness that would save nations. Or think of the caterpillar sealed inside its cocoon, unseen, immobile, trapped in a dark space. To the observer, it might appear dead, but within, transformation is quietly unfolding. What was once bound to crawl is being formed to fly. That is your story. The soil you despised is the same soil that will produce your destiny. The pain that covered you is the same pain that will feed your growth. You may not understand why God allowed certain losses, why He kept you hidden, why doors closed without reason. But one day, when you break through the surface, you'll see it clearly. The burial was a lie. The planting was the truth. Every great story begins in obscurity. The oak was once a seed in darkness. The gold was once trapped within the rock. The diamond was once buried deep within the earth. Nothing valuable comes from the surface. All greatness is born in hidden places. So if you feel buried, rejoice, because it means God saw something in you worth planting. There's a sacred rhythm to divine timing. First comes the planting, then the waiting, and then the rising. You cannot rush this order, for every stage has purpose. The waiting protects what the planting began. You must trust that even when nothing seems to move, everything beneath is alive with intention. And when God decides it's time, the same hand that covered you will uncover you. The same soil that once hid you will testify of your resilience. Those who once thought you were buried will be forced to watch your resurrection. And when you rise, you will carry the fragrance of the soil that once confined you, the fragrance of endurance, faith, and quiet trust. So don't curse the darkness. Don't despise the seasons of silence. You are in the ground, yes, but not in a grave. You are in the womb of God's timing, where every root, every crack, and every unseen movement is shaping your miracle. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are planted, deeply, intentionally, and beautifully. And when the light finally breaks through, you'll realize that what you thought was an ending was only the beginning of your blooming. There is something sacred about divine delay. We often view it as denial, as though God has forgotten our dreams or ignored our prayers. But in truth, the waiting is mercy disguised. The spotlight is not a toy, it is a test. And God, in His infinite wisdom, withholds it until the soul beneath it is strong enough to stand, humble enough to serve, and wise enough to remain grounded. You see, everyone desires to be seen. There's a natural yearning in the human heart to be acknowledged, to have your gifts recognized, your efforts rewarded, your voice heard. But visibility without maturity is dangerous. It magnifies what the character cannot carry. Many rise too soon and collapse beneath the very attention they once craved. Fame without foundation becomes the weight that crushes instead of crowns. That is why God hides His chosen ones. He keeps them in the quiet corners while He molds their strength in secret. He delays their unveiling until their hearts can endure the fire of recognition without being consumed by pride. You may not understand why He's kept you waiting, while others seem to be racing ahead. You've watched them celebrated while you've remained unseen, and you've asked, Lord, when will it be my turn? But God's timing is not meant to hurt you, it's meant to prepare you. The spotlight is beautiful, but it is hot. It exposes, not just glorifies. When the light shines on you, it doesn't only reveal your brilliance, it also reveals your cracks. And so, before the light ever finds you, God works in the dark to seal those cracks with humility, with patience, with faith. The hidden seasons are not about punishment, they are about fortification. God ensures that when the light finally arrives, it does not destroy what He built in you. Think of the goldsmith refining his metal. The fire is never to harm, it is to purify. Every delay, every rejection, every door that remained closed, these were flames purging away the impurities that could have corrupted your purpose once success arrived. The refining process is uncomfortable because it burns away illusions, insecurities, and self-reliance. But when it's complete, what emerges is brilliance, pure, unbreakable, and ready to endure. There are many who rise by human effort, those who force their way into visibility. They climb quickly but fall quietly, for what was built without divine preparation cannot sustain divine assignment. But those who are lifted by God, those who wait through the silence, those who trust Him when it makes no sense, these are the ones who rise with stability. They don't crumble under pressure because their hearts were trained in humility long before the applause came. The spotlight is not just about exposure, it's about purpose. God will never place you in a position that your character cannot uphold. He's not just preparing the opportunity, He's preparing you for it. What good is a stage if your heart cannot withstand its weight? What good is influence if it leads you away from the one who gave it? That is why He delays, because He would rather have you whole in obscurity than broken in fame. There is a powerful beauty in being unseen. It is in that quiet place where your roots grow deep. You learn to depend not on admiration, but on alignment. You learn that favor is not found in being known by the world, but in being known by God. And when the moment of unveiling arrives, you will not be shaken by praise, because your heart will remember the silence that shaped you. Every person God intends to use greatly, He hides deeply. Look at David, anointed yet left in the fields. Look at Joseph, gifted yet imprisoned. Look at Moses, chosen yet exiled. Each of them was ready long before they were revealed, but the timing of their unveiling belonged to God alone. He withholds the spotlight until the inner man is steady enough to handle the outer honor. So if you are waiting, if you are watching others rise while you remain unseen, don't despair. You are not forgotten. You are being finished. Heaven's silence is the sound of construction, and when the time comes, you won't have to chase visibility. It will find you, because God will trust you with it. He is not ignoring your readiness, He's perfecting it. Every day in the background is adding strength to your character, purity to your motive, and wisdom to your purpose. When He finally brings you into the light, you won't just shine, you'll illuminate. Your story will not be a tale of sudden success, but of steady preparation, divine timing, and enduring faith. So rest in the waiting. God is not punishing you by withholding the spotlight. He's protecting you from the glare of premature glory, and when He finally turns the light toward you, you'll realize that the years of silence were not wasted. They were sacred. You'll step into your breakthrough, not as someone desperate for attention, but as someone ready to reflect His light, not your own. There is something profoundly holy about the hidden seasons of life, those stretches of time when you feel unseen, unheard, and perhaps even forgotten. You watch others celebrated, while your own efforts seem to vanish into silence. The world measures progress by visibility, but heaven measures it by depth. And the truth is, obscurity is not the absence of purpose. It is the workshop of the divine. It is the canvas upon which God paints the unseen strokes of destiny. When the artist begins his work, he does not start on a public stage. He begins in silence, in solitude, in stillness. The greatest masterpieces are not born in crowds. They are formed in the quiet. Think of the sculptor with a block of marble. To those passing by it appears lifeless and ordinary, but in the sculptor's eyes lies a vision waiting to emerge. Every strike of the chisel seems destructive to the marble, yet each blow is deliberate, purposeful, and filled with love. What looks like breaking is actually becoming. So it is with you. The divine hand has been chiseling your character, refining your patience, shaping your spirit, not to destroy you, but to reveal the masterpiece hidden within. The world often confuses visibility with value, but God does not. He hides what is precious. Diamonds are formed in darkness, pearls are created in hidden depths. Oil is pressed in secret places, and the soul that will carry his glory must first be acquainted with obscurity. It is in that hidden place where you learn dependence on him alone, where you are stripped of the desire for applause and filled instead with a hunger for authenticity. When God works in secret, his brushstrokes are invisible to the untrained eye. People may not see what he's doing, and you may not even see it yourself. You might only feel the friction, the scraping, the delays, the unanswered prayers. But beneath the silence, divine intention is unfolding. God is shaping the inner landscape of your being, so that when the outer blessing arrives, your soul will not be undone by it. It is in obscurity that endurance is forged. It's where you learn to keep walking when no one is watching, to keep believing when there's no evidence, to keep serving when there's no recognition. The background teaches the discipline of faithfulness, the ability to do what's right without reward, to hold integrity even when unseen. And that kind of faithfulness is rare, yet it's the foundation upon which lasting greatness is built. Think of the potter shaping clay. The wheel spins and the clay is pressed, stretched, and reshaped again and again. If clay could feel, it would probably cry out, asking why it must be stretched so painfully. But the potter knows what the clay does not, that every turn of the wheel, every push of pressure, is bringing it closer to its final form. The obscurity of your life is God's wheel. It's not punishment, it's process. You are being molded into something worthy of holding divine purpose. If you've ever wondered why your prayers seem to echo back, or why progress feels invisible, remember this: silence is not absence. The quiet moments are the brushstrokes of a careful creator. God does his finest work in hiddenness, because that's where distractions fade and transformation takes root. The flower does not bloom at the first touch of spring. It endures the weight of winter, so that when the sun finally rises, it has strength to unfold. There is also a mercy in obscurity. When you are hidden, you are protected. The spotlight can destroy what the soul is not ready to sustain. God hides you to heal you, to grow you, to anchor you. He is preparing you not just for the blessing, but for the burden that comes with it. Visibility demands maturity, and so before he reveals you, he refines you. In the hands of the divine craftsman, even your mistakes become materials for beauty. The pain, the rejection, the loss, they're all strokes of color on the canvas. And though you may not see the full picture yet, trust the one holding the brush. Every delay is a deliberate shade. Every silence is a line of purpose. The composition is not complete, but it is in progress. And soon, what once looked chaotic will make perfect sense in the light. So if you find yourself in obscurity, do not despise it. It is not the pause before your purpose, it is your purpose being formed. Every unseen act of obedience, every hidden prayer, every quiet sacrifice is a stroke of divine artistry. God is crafting something eternal within you. And when the painting is finished, when He decides to lift the veil, the world will see not just your success, but His skill. They will marvel not at how quickly you rose, but at how deeply you were formed. You were not forgotten in the shadows. You are being painted in grace. So stand still upon the canvas. Let the artist work. For obscurity is not your prison, it's your preparation. It's the silent stage upon which eternity rehearses your unveiling. There are moments in life when silence feels cruel. You've prayed faithfully, worked quietly, and waited patiently, yet nothing seems to move. It feels as if heaven has gone quiet, as if your name has been lost in the noise of the world. But what you cannot hear with your ears, heaven has already spoken in the unseen. While you have been worrying about being forgotten, God has been whispering your name in rooms you've never entered, placing your destiny in conversations you don't yet know exist. The unseen realm is never idle. God's activity does not always announce itself with noise. Often it moves in silence, like wind shifting through unseen paths. The same way the roots of a tree spread beneath the earth before it ever bears fruit, heaven moves before manifestation ever reaches your sight. You may think nothing is happening, but even now, divine arrangements are unfolding on your behalf. There are people being stirred to favor you, doors being prepared to open for you, opportunities being tailored to your exact measure, all without your awareness. You see, when God decides to promote you, He doesn't need public permission. He doesn't need to post an announcement or gather applause. He simply begins to speak your name in hidden places. A king once couldn't sleep, and instead of being restless, he ordered the records to be read, and in those pages the name of a man named Mordecai was found, a man who had once done good and was forgotten. But heaven had not forgotten him. At the right time, God whispered his name in the right ear, and overnight he went from overlooked to honored. So it is with you. The years you spent in faithfulness, doing good when no one noticed, are not lost. Heaven keeps accounts with perfect accuracy. Every act of obedience, every tear you shed, every time you chose peace instead of bitterness, these are recorded in divine memory. And when the moment comes, your name will rise like incense before the throne of favor. It will be spoken in places you never imagined. Someone will remember your kindness. Someone will recommend your gift. Someone will open a door that was locked until heaven turned the key. You are not being ignored. You are being prepared for a divine mention. The delay you're living in is the time God uses to align everything perfectly. For when He calls your name, it will not echo into confusion. It will land exactly where it must. Every connection, every opportunity, every open door will appear effortlessly, as though orchestrated by invisible hands, because it was. In unseen places, God has been building your reputation before people who can change your future. There are conversations happening in your absence that will shift your destiny. There are hearts being moved toward compassion for you, projects being created that will need your voice, positions being emptied that your name will fill. Heaven's whispers are louder than earthly applause. We often think favor is earned, but true favor is spoken. It is when God says your name aloud in the courts of destiny. No striving, no chasing, no proving, just divine recognition. The same God who spoke light into darkness is speaking your name into opportunity. And when the time comes, what once seemed like coincidence, there is a verse that says, "Your gift will make room for you." But before the gift ever makes room, God prepares the room itself. You are not behind schedule. You are on holy time. The people meant to help you are being positioned. The doors you need are being designed to open. Heaven does not move in haste. It moves in precision. Perhaps this is why your spirit has felt restless lately, because something within you senses the stirring above you. You may not see the shift, but your soul can feel it. The winds are changing, the ground is moving, and heaven is calling your name again. The silence was not neglect, it was incubation. God was preparing not just your opportunity, but your spirit to handle it with grace. So be still, even in the waiting. Trust that the whispers of heaven carry more weight than the shouts of men. You may be standing in the background now, but your name is already echoing in the corridors of breakthrough. And when the moment comes, it will seem sudden to others, but not to you. You'll recognize the rhythm of divine timing. When heaven speaks your name, no one can silence it. When heaven opens the door, no man can close it. You will not have to strive for recognition. It will come searching for you, led by the very hand of God. And when you step into what has been prepared, you will realize something beautiful, that heaven had been talking about you all along. So lift your head even in the silence. Rest your soul even in the stillness. For unseen hands are arranging the details, unseen voices are carrying your name, and unseen favor is being written into your story. The whisper of heaven has already gone forth, and soon the world will hear your name echo where only silence used to dwell. There is a strange beauty in the way God works, quiet, deliberate, and unseen. For years it feels as though nothing is changing. The prayers remain unanswered, the doors remain closed, and life feels like a cycle of stillness. But then, suddenly, everything shifts. What once took years of waiting turns into a single moment of divine movement. It seems sudden to those watching, but not to heaven, for heaven knows. The preparation was long. Every great transition carries a quiet prelude. Just as dawn begins in the silence before sunrise, breakthroughs are born in seasons of stillness. The world only notices the light when it floods the sky, but it forgets the long, patient hours of darkness that came before it. So it is with you. What will look like an overnight change to others will be the result of years of divine craftsmanship. Years of molding, pruning, and refining your soul for a moment only God could orchestrate. The human heart grows weary in waiting because we measure time by minutes, while God measures it by maturity. He is never rushed, because he knows that sudden blessings can destroy an unprepared soul. There's a reason your breakthrough took time. It had to meet you when your heart was ready to hold it without losing yourself. Quick success without spiritual depth becomes an illusion. It shines briefly, then fades, but success born from divine timing endures because it is grounded in purpose, not pride. Think of a tree planted by a river. For years it grows unseen beneath the soil, sending its roots deep into the ground. To the passer-by it looks lifeless, still, stagnant, but one day it breaks through the surface, full of strength, and nothing can uproot it. That is what God has been doing in you. The hidden years were root years. Years of deepening faith, quiet discipline, and unseen strengthening. You were learning to trust his timing, to obey without proof, to love without applause. Those lessons are not wasted. They are your foundation for what's coming. God always works in patterns of preparation before promotion. Joseph's rise from prisoner to prince happened overnight, yet it took 13 years of silence to prepare him for that single day. David was anointed as king long before he ever wore a crown. Moses waited 40 years in the wilderness before his divine assignment began. Their transitions looked sudden to the world, but every moment of obscurity was necessary for their emergence. The waiting was never wasted. It was God aligning the right people, the right place, and the right moment for divine unveiling. And so it will be with you. The reason you've felt so stretched, so tested, so refined is because the next season will demand the best version of you. The blessings you prayed for require a strength you wouldn't have built without the struggle. Every delay taught you humility. Every disappointment carved endurance into your heart. Every quiet night of prayer forged faith that cannot be shaken. You are not stepping into something new. You are stepping into something prepared. The transition, when it comes, will feel effortless. Doors that were bolted shut will open with ease. Opportunities will find you without striving. People will call it luck, but you will know it was divine timing. It will happen so quickly that you will barely have time to process it, but your spirit will recognize it instantly. It will feel like home, because this time it won't just be your turn, it will be your time. The preparation was long because the purpose is great. God doesn't rush what he intends to last. The same way an architect spends more time on the foundation than the walls, God invested time building unseen strength in you. The world will see the house and marvel, but heaven knows the depth of the groundwork beneath it. The applause will come, but your heart will remain steady, for you will remember the silence that shaped you. You may feel as though nothing is happening, but you are living in the final moments before divine acceleration. The shift will come quietly, then suddenly. One conversation, one opportunity, one divine connection, and everything will change, not because of who you know, but because of who knows you. When it happens, you won't need to chase validation or prove your worth. You will simply walk through the doors already ordained for you, and every tear, every prayer, every long night will make sense in a single moment of realization. It was all preparation. So don't despise the waiting. It's where heaven builds endurance. Don't rush the silence. It's where wisdom grows. When the transition arrives, it will be swift, but it will carry the weight of years of divine craftsmanship. And when you step into it, your soul will whisper, "I understand now." What seemed delayed was divine design. What seemed silent was sacred alignment. You are never behind schedule. You are being synchronized with eternity. And now, as the clock of heaven strikes its appointed hour, the long preparation will meet its sudden unveiling. Your transition will come swiftly, but your foundation will stand forever, for God has been preparing you not just to enter your breakthrough, but to sustain it. There will come a moment when the waiting ends, when the silence that has filled your days gives way to the sound of divine unveiling. The doors that once refused to open will swing wide. The opportunities that seemed unreachable will come rushing toward you, and all eyes will turn to see what God has done. But remember this, the spotlight you step into will not exist to glorify your effort. It will exist to magnify His glory. You see, God does not elevate you to make the world impressed with your story. He elevates you to make the world impressed with His sovereignty. The breakthrough you're about to step into will not be about your brilliance or perseverance. It will be a divine display of what happens when an ordinary life is surrendered to an extraordinary God. He takes the unnoticed, the overlooked, the broken, and the faithful, and He raises them up, not to feed their pride, but to reveal His power. The danger of the spotlight is not its brightness, but what it exposes. The same light that reveals your calling will also test your humility. It will ask, who will you give the credit to? When God begins to bless you publicly, it will be tempting to believe you made it through your strength. But those who truly endured the background season never forget the one who carried them through it. You will remember the tears, the closed doors, the nights when hope was fading, and you will know that every bit of progress was grace. That's why God takes so long to prepare the heart before promotion. He delays the spotlight until it can no longer seduce you. If he had elevated you too soon, your heart might have mistaken recognition for purpose and applause for identity. But now, because you've been trained in humility, the stage will not intoxicate you, it will humble you. You will stand in the light, not as someone who chased greatness, but as someone who quietly followed obedience. The spotlight, when used rightly, becomes a mirror reflecting heaven. When people look at your success, your peace, your transformation, they should see not your strength but his fingerprints. The very things that were meant to destroy you will become evidence of his intervention. Every trial you survived, every loss you endured, every prayer you whispered in the dark will echo through your success as a quiet testimony of his faithfulness. Consider how the moon shines. It has no light of its own. It simply reflects the sun. That is what true success in God's hands looks like. It's not about shining brighter than others. It's about reflecting the one who gave you light. And that reflection is what changes lives. When people encounter your breakthrough, it will not be your story that transforms them. It will be his glory shining through your story. But make no mistake, God will honor your faithfulness. He delights in blessing his children. The same world that watched you struggle will watch you rise. The same people who overlooked you will witness your elevation. Yet, when they come to you asking how it happened, your words will carry weight because they will not come from pride. They will come from revelation. You will be able to say with certainty, "It wasn't me, it was him." And when that light shines, it will illuminate not just your destiny, but the paths of those still waiting in their own darkness. Your testimony will become someone else's hope. Your breakthrough will remind the weary that God still moves. The purpose of your elevation is not status, it's influence for good. The light that now falls upon you is not for personal glory. It's to draw attention to the source of all light. Remember, pride destroys what humility builds. If pride enters after elevation, what was meant to glorify God becomes a monument to self, and monuments crumble. But a life surrendered remains steady. The true measure of spiritual maturity is not how loudly you shine, but how quietly you give the glory back to the one who lit the flame. So when the moment arrives when favor surrounds you, and people begin to speak your name in admiration, anchor yourself in remembrance. Recall the nights when you had nothing but faith. Recall the mornings when you rose despite the weight of despair. Recall the times you almost quit but didn't. Those memories are holy. They keep the heart grounded while the light grows brighter. The spotlight is not the destination, it is the continuation of purpose. You were never meant to live for attention, you were meant to live for reflection. And when God displays you before the world, he does so to make himself known through your life. You are not the masterpiece, you are the frame that holds it. The art is his, and the light belongs to him. So walk humbly into your season of breakthrough. Let your success speak softly, and your gratitude speak loudly. Let the world see what happens when a life stays faithful in obscurity and remains humble in elevation. For the true beauty of divine promotion is not in being seen, it's in being used. When the spotlight finds you, bow your heart in reverence. Let your light shine, but let your spirit whisper, "To God be the glory." Because in the end, That is what this was all about. Not your recognition, but His revelation. Not your crown, but His kingdom. Not your rise, but His reflection. And when the curtain falls and the stage grows quiet again, the world will remember one thing. Not how brightly you shined, but how clearly you pointed them toward the light that never fades. And now, as this journey through the hidden seasons of your life draws to a close, let your heart rest in this unshakable truth. God has not forgotten you. Every moment of silence, every delay that broke your spirit, every season of invisibility was not wasted time. It was sacred preparation. You were never overlooked. You were being refined, matured, and strengthened for a divine unveiling that will soon take even you by surprise. The same God who watched you serve quietly, who saw you love without recognition and endure without applause, is about to pull you out of the background. He is about to lift the curtain that has long concealed your purpose. But when He does, it won't be a slow unfolding. It will be a divine acceleration. Suddenly the pieces will fit. Suddenly the doors will open. Suddenly the years that seemed barren will bear fruit beyond imagination. This is the moment where everything you endured begins to make sense. The pain, the silence, the waiting, it was all working together to make you strong enough to carry what's coming. You will look back and realize that obscurity was mercy, that the background was protection, and that every not yet from heaven was really a soon.